everyone, today I'm going to be talking about makeup, funnily enough, and it's going to be my full coverage glowy base routine. I'll leave the other products that I used on my face down below if you're interested, but yeah, it's literally just going to be the base products that I use, the tools that I use to achieve a very long lasting full coverage but still glowy look. Day to day I do like using more kind of like natural products, like I do mention this foundation in this video. If you want to see a full coverage natural foundation routine, like with more natural non-toxic brands. I always do this when I say non-toxic because it doesn't really mean anything saying non-toxic, like come on, let's not scare people. But yeah, if you'd be interested in that I can definitely do a separate video on that, but these are more kind of mainstream makeup products, all cruelty free, all vegan. I will list down below any brands that have a parent company. I will note that down below. If you don't shop with brands that are owned by parent companies, I will definitely try and indicate that down below to the best of my knowledge. I do have, like I say, normal skin, but I did have really bad acne back in the day. Actually, my acne scars look pretty good now. God, you would be so surprised if I showed you what my acne scars were like 3 years ago. I need to do an updated skincare routine to like get rid of acne scars because genuinely I found some real gems. Yeah, I'll do that as well. But yeah, unrelated to this video, I have really dark under eyes, so I appreciate a full coverage like concealer, foundation, etc, etc. So if you too like that kind of thing, hopefully you enjoy this video, and if you do, maybe give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see some more cruelty free and vegan content, because that's kind of my bag. I started with my eye makeup already done, so yeah, if this looks a bit weird the next clip, then that'll be why. Okay, so I always start with moisturised skin. I just use my daytime like day cream, and then I go in with primer, and I don't use primer every single day, but like I say, this is for when I want a full coverage that's going to last really well. So the primer that I love is the Cover FX Illuminating Primer. I know they've come out with a gripping primer and a blurring primer that I really would quite like to try. I've heard really good things about them, but this is a glowy primer. It's kind of got the consistency of the Too Faced Hangover RX primer, but it's a lot more glowy. It's not sparkly at all, it hasn't got any sparkle to it, but it definitely just makes the skin look more kind of sheeny and illuminated, but not glittery, or, you know, it's very lightweight. My fingers are clean, by the way. When you're going to be piling quite a lot of makeup on your face, I think it's really important to have clean hands because you don't want to be trapping any bacteria underneath layers of makeup. So hopefully you'll be able to see, like when I move my head, it just makes you look a little bit sweaty, you know, but in a nice way, in a nice glowy, refreshed way. If I really want to look very seamless, I'll put some of this silicone based primer on by B. So this is their pre-makeup primer. This is kind of like the Smashbox Photo Finish primer, but cheaper. If you want a cheaper version of that Cover FX Illuminating Primer, by the way, the Cassie Lomas Illuminator is very similar. Like, they're so similar in consistency and also in the effect they give. But this pre-makeup primer I warm up on the back of my hand, and then sometimes I'll apply it just where I've got slightly bigger pores or kind of like blackheads, so it looks a bit bumpy, and this will smooth everything out, give a nice seamless finish. And sometimes I put some of this underneath my eye so that the concealer under there doesn't crease as much, because this kind of fills in. It's kind of like adding a layer to your skin. It's probably not too good for you, and it is heavily silicone based. But yeah, silicones are in products to make them slippery and smoothing, and you know, it's a reason they're there, basically. Again, I use my hands for that. I use my hands a lot with my base products. I just find that warming the product up with your fingers and applying it with your fingers gives the best effect. Like, I very rarely use a brush with liquid foundation. Sometimes I do, but very rarely. I also go in with this. This is a more of a recent kind of addition to my routine, but this is the Hollywood Flawless Filter by Charlotte Tilbury. And sometimes, I mean, I do use this as a highlighter, but sometimes I also pop it underneath my makeup as well, just kind of at the high points of my face to add that extra level of glow. This is quite an interesting product. It's got a tiny bit of coverage to it, but nothing. It's not a concealer, it's not a foundation, but it's just got that glow running through it, more so than the illuminating primer. And then I go in with coverage. So I do my foundation first, then my concealer. Some people do concealer and then foundation, but I prefer doing foundation and then concealer. My foundation of choice when I want a full coverage is the Beauty Blender Bounce Foundation. I just picked up a new one, but there is some left in my old one, but it looks like this. So it looks kind of janky, but you know, if there's product in it, I'm going to use it. And I'm in the shade 140 or 1.40. It says on the front that it's a liquid whip foundation. It doesn't really feel whipped, but it definitely feels lightweight. Like, it's really lightweight, and I think this is underrated. I think the shade range definitely lets it down. Oh, same old story, isn't it? Like, the shade range just needs to be improved on every... I'm like more than happy for brands when they say like, oh, we can only have 12 shades. Like, I'm more than happy for them to ignore the fair skinned folk and just cater to darker skinned people, because when you think about it, we have so many foundations, so much option when you're fair. Like, there's so much option out there that we really don't need another foundation. Like, if you've only got a certain budget and you can only have a certain amount of shades, ignore us for a bit and cater to darker skin people with different skin tones, try not to make them an ashy formula. It just be a bit more inclusive. But anyway, that to one side. This formula is lovely. I really enjoy it, and I apply it with my fingers. I apply it first to the back of my hand and then with my fingers. The idea with this is I've obviously messed this packaging up, but you kind of pump it out onto a little palette. I've taken it off, but the packaging has a little palette. You pump it out into it and apply it from there with a beauty blender. But I prefer to just pump it onto my hand and then apply it with fingers all over the face. This shade I would say is suitable for people who are fair but have like neutral undertones. Sometimes I think I work best with yellow undertoned foundations, but this one's neutral and I think it works quite nicely. I find this sits really well on the skin. It doesn't cling to any dry patches. I do have normal skin, so it's not like I'm incredibly dry or like have flaky under eyes, but yeah, I feel like this has got really good reviews online. Some people say it's quite cakey, but I think it's the opposite of cakey. I really feel like it sits very nicely on the skin, gives really good coverage, as hopefully you'll be able to see. Like I had a spot here and it's covered it really well. I've also got a spot in my nose. I keep getting spots in my nose, it's so annoying. And it counters my eye bags very well. Like I could go out without concealer when I use this, and I would, you know, that's a very rare occurrence for me because I do have quite dark under eyes. Once I've kind of spread it around with my fingers, I then go in with a beauty blender just to get rid of any lines and make it look a bit more seamless. And when I want more of a full coverage, I definitely push into the skin as opposed to swipe. You can swipe with a sponge, like people say like never swipe, but if you want more of a sheer coverage you can swipe. There's no rules when it comes to makeup. But yeah, if you want more of a full coverage, definitely press the product into your skin as opposed to swiping it away. And obviously most people will wet their beauty blender, but I'm just lazy, can't be bothered. So to kind of warm up my face a bit / give a bit of shape to the face, it's kind of I think these are contouring products, but I kind of use them more as bronzers, just because the shade I've got to contour with is quite warm, so I've kind of used it more as a bronzing product, but I put it in the contour areas of the face. It's all very confusing. This is the multi-use sculpting concealer by Too Faced, and I use Swan to highlight underneath my eyes and spot conceal, and then a mixture of vanilla and sand to bronze my face up. So what I love about these is obviously they add really, if you haven't heard about this product, great coverage, really lightweight on the skin, lasts amazingly well on the skin. I love the doe foot applicator. It's a very chunky, easy to use applicator, and I'll apply Swan to highlight. And I don't like apply everything and then blend it out. I first do highlight and then I do contour. I know like in those Instagram videos you see like they do all of the cream and make it look all crazy and then they blend it in, but I don't think that's the best way to go, because by the time you get round to blending it in it's already set, and if you say I did these 2 dabs and it started to set, it would look really weird because I'd have 2 little blobs on my head. I take a mixture of my fingers and the sponge to blend this out. And also you can be really lightweight with this kind of sponge. Like I love the Nancy sponge as well. You don't necessarily have to use the beauty blender, but these can be really gentle on the eye. As long as you don't press or like scrape too hard around your eye, they can be really gentle. Compared to a brush, I see people use brushes and they're like, you know, like face brushes, foundation brushes, and they're really rubbing around their eye, and I just think just be gentle. You can get the same effect just being have a really light hand. Okay, and then to contour, I do not apply them straight to my cheeks. I always apply them on the back of my hand first, because then it stops you going overboard. I probably wouldn't have to mix 2 shades, it's just because I was matching myself online, so this is the best I could get. So I just kind of place this with my fingers around the perimeters of my face and blend it in with a sponge. Try not to get it in your hair. And sometimes I'll blend a little bit underneath my jawline. Next step is to set, and obviously you can use pressed powder, you could use a mineral foundation to add even more coverage. Like I sometimes use the Alima Pure Satin Matte Foundation to set my foundation. If I'm using more of a natural foundation, they tend not to have too much coverage. So this is the Nui Natural Liquid Foundation, a wonderful, lovely, everyday foundation, but it's not so crazy on the coverage. I'd say it's like a medium coverage. It is good coverage for a green foundation, but it's not the beauty blender bounce, let's be real. So yeah, that's a nice kind of trick. If you use a natural foundation, top it off with a mineral powder, and then you'll get the pigment of the mineral foundation, and you'll also get your makeup kind of set in place. But I go in with a loose powder because obviously I don't need any more coverage at this stage, and this one is by Hourglass. I've really been enjoying. I take a loose powder with a sponge. Now obviously you could use a brush, it's completely up to you, but I find pressing powder into where I put product sets it down amazingly well and really seamlessly. You need to be careful which powder you go in with, because obviously some powders are heavier than others, some they may not work with a sponge. And notice like I'm not baking here, I'm not packing on product underneath my eyes and then wiping it away with a brush. I'm just applying the powder with a sponge. This is going to take away the shine but also make the product last longer on the skin. Genuinely, the combination of these products, the foundation, the concealer, and then setting my face with a powder and a sponge, this will last all day. Like, even the foundation on its own lasts pretty much all day. It's an incredible long wear foundation, but like this combination, honestly, it's ain't budging. It's not budging anywhere. And I shouldn't really apply cream on top of powder, but this tends to work okay. It doesn't separate or go gloopy, so I add a bit of the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless filter on top. And even though this is a liquid product, it doesn't need to be set. Like, it's not sticky, it's not heavy at all. It's incredibly lightweight actually. And then, just to be a little bit OGT, I do actually go in with a powder bronzer as well, because I think that adding the powder on top is kind of like setting the contour in a way. That makes sense. So like, obviously I've put powder all over my face and that's set my face, but this just brings a bit of colour back to the... I know that bronzer and contour are different things, sorry, I keep using them interchangeably because for me personally, I kind of mix the two together. Like, I apply bronzer kind of where you apply contour, but they are two different things. Contour you'll usually use more of a cool shade like this, whereas bronzer you'll use more of a warm shade like this. This is to warm the face up and to give it like a little bit of life, whereas contour is to give the face shape, so if you're wondering. But sometimes I take the contour from this Lily Lolo palette, mix it with the highlight and use this as well to set my bronzer slash contour, so yeah. But I am aware they're different things. And also, sometimes I'll set my highlight as well. I'll take this highlight from the Lily Lolo contour kit, which is awesome. This is such a nice little kit, by the way, if you're interested in getting more of a natural kind of contour duo. This is fab. If you're fair skinned, obviously this is not going to cater to many skin tones slash shades. It's just not, which sucks. I find that green slash more natural brands are already one step, most green slash natural brands are one step behind mainstream brands in terms of colour matching and different, you know, deeper skin tones, providing for deeper skin people, and mainstream makeup is already quite behind. So yeah, that says it all. My favourite blush is these two. This is the Pixie Chloe Morello palette, and I use these. This just lasts on my skin so well. I use them every single day. They look so natural but still bring colour to the face, and I don't apply my blush on the apples of my cheeks, I apply it over here, just off to the side. Bit more of an 80s style, this application. This, by the way, is the e.l.f. complexion brush. This is awesome. If you want a multi-purpose, really, really soft, really, really long lasting in terms of, I've had this for about 5 years now, very, very affordable brush. This is your man. Like, I use this, as you can see, I used it for contour, sometimes I use it for powder, and I also use it for blush. Like, this side here is perfect for blush. It's such a good multi-use product. Highly, highly recommend this. And then last but not least, I take a toner. So this is the Hydrating Mist Toner by Trilogy. I tend to just use toners as setting sprays. I don't have separate setting sprays to set my face. You just have to be careful how kind of bitty the mist is. So this is quite a fine mist, as you can see, but something like the Pie Face Mist, those toners are not good in terms of they'll put out a lot of product. You want a fine dispersion of products to set your face with. And don't add too much, like you don't need loads to set your face. But just make sure it is dry before you move around and do anything. Just gonna pop a little bit of lipstick on. This is the Tarte Lip Sculptor in the shade Cartwheel. It's a lipstick and a gloss in one. And yeah, that is pretty much it. That's the end of my go-to glowy but full coverage base, and those are my favourite products to use at the moment. And if I want more of a natural, day-to-day routine, I will use the Nui foundation, the Lima Pure Satin Matte foundation to set my face, and as concealer I use the Hand Cosmetics concealer because that one's like my favourite green beauty concealer that I've tried so far. Yes, I really hope that was useful. If it was, maybe give this video a thumbs up if you fancy, and subscribe if you'd like to see some more cruelty-free and vegan content from me, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!